Hello and welcome to my channel. Or should I say welcome to a very late January and February wrap up. So if you've been here for a while, you will know I'm very bad at actually reviewing the books on my TBR. I'm a reviewer who does not review, apparently, but we're changing that today. I didn't want to not tell you about what I read the first 2 months, so we're just gonna do them together, and then we're also gonna do March and April's together, which will be probably a much shorter video because I didn't read very much in March at all. However, I do have quite a few books to talk about today. Not all of them are going to be super long descriptions because some of them are pretty short books. I'll explain a little bit more about that in a second. Without further ado, so we don't make this an hour-long video, let's jump into the books that I read in January. First, we're gonna start with a DNF. I don't want to start with like a really bad, I really don't want to start off on a bad foot. However, I forget which month I tried to read this in, so we're just gonna put it on top and talk about Instructions for Dancing by Nicola Yoon. I was really enjoying this book for quite a bit. I thought it was really cute. However, and this is verging on spoiler territory, so if you want to know, don't want to know any, oh, hold on, let me tell you what it's about first. This is about, I forget her name, Edie, who one day sees a couple kiss and discovers that whenever she sees somebody, sees two people kissing, she can tell their entire relationship history and their future. And she's already kind of struggling with her ideals of love after her parents had gotten a divorce. Based on that, this is a young adult contemporary, which YA is something that I have found myself sort of falling out of love with, unfortunately. And I think it definitely hit with this one as well. I just wasn't in the mood for it. Once I saw where the twist was going, about halfway, like a little more than halfway through the book, I just wasn't into it. I think I wasn't in the mood for this kind of story at the time. And like I said, this is bordering spoiler territory, so if you really don't want to know anything about this book, skip ahead a little bit until I put this down and you should be fine. But the way this story took, the turn the story took, just wasn't what I was in the mood for. And it's not typically the kind of story that I like reading. Now I am kind of contradicting myself right now because there is a book further down the line here that has a similar situation going on, has a similar ending, I should say, and I happen to like that book a lot more than I liked this one, probably because I knew what to expect when I was going in. This one just unfortunately was probably just the wrong timing, but now that I kind of know what happens towards the end, I don't particularly care to pick it back up. On a much better note, if you don't know, which you probably don't because I don't know if I talked about it before on this channel, at least in books and videos that I've posted, Junie B. Jones is one of my favorite series of all time. Well, was when I was little. And I have since been recollecting all of the editions of Junie B. Jones and reading them with my now fiance, Benson, who many of you know. He has been on this channel before. If you don't know him, he also has a gaming channel, which like all of his links are always in the description, so you can check them out there. And he's usually on this channel pretty frequently. But I'm making him read these with me, and maybe later I can get a clip of him saying what he thinks of them, because not all his reviews are positive. This one is I think the ninth book in the series. Junie B. Jones is not a crook, and this one follows where she just lost her brand new mittens, and when she goes to look for them in the Lost and Found, she discovers this pen that she falls in love with, and so she has to kind of come to terms with whether she wants to be a thief and take that pen, knowing how it feels to have something taken from you, or if she should, should take the pen because she loves it so much, and clearly somebody else didn't care about that. This one, I think I gave it a 4-star. It was so much fun, as most of the books are to me. And it was really fun looking into getting to relive that part of of my past with some of my favorite books. The next one was the first 5-star read of the month. That was The Hatmakers by Tamsin Merchant. This was the middle grade monthly book for January, and I'm really glad that I read this. This is just what I needed. I think I was in a really bad reading slump towards the last half of 2021. So to be able to pick this up and get that breath of fresh air that I really needed, something so whimsical and magical, it was really nice. So, I mean, realistically, like now that I'm looking back on it, it's probably more of a 4-star book because I did have some problems with it. There were times when it was just too predictable and too out there, and things just, or even too illogical, which, like, it's a middle grade fantasy. Of course, things are bound to happen that aren't super logical, but there were some things in this world that just didn't make sense from previous rules that the book had already established. It was weird. It just didn't make sense in some ways. And like I said, it was pretty predictable for the most part, which kind of saddens me, but I still think it was a 5-star just because I read it at the right time, in the right moment, and I was super happy. I should probably tell you what this is about instead of just giving you my review, huh? This follows Cordelia, oh, I don't know what that is. Cordelia, whose father has recently gone missing. He is lost in sea. Everyone thinks he's dead, but she holds out hope that he is still alive. Mix that in with the fact that someone is going around and stealing all of these magical items of clothing. She's a hat maker, I forgot to mention. She's a magical hat maker, and there are all these families that also make other magical parts of clothing. So like she's dealing with that and the fact that someone is going around stealing all of these magical items of clothing, as well as dealing with the fact that she's the only person that thinks her father is alive. Like I said, 5 stars, love this. Cannot wait to read the sequel, which I have not gotten yet, but I'm going to very, very soon. Next 2 were rereads. The first one I'm going to talk about is Hope Rides Again. This is the first book? Second book? Second book. This one's the second book in the I don't remember what the series is called, but basically this follows Joe Biden and Barack Obama as they try to solve mysteries, and I think it's only a duology, but this is the second book where Barack Obama's BlackBerry goes missing and they have to figure out who took it and why they took it. And I think I liked the first book a lot better than this one. Unfortunately, I think I only gave this one a 3-star. 3-star? Oh, apparently I gave it a 4-star. I'm going to adjust that because I think it was more of a 3-star. Just the way I don't know. I think me comparing it to the first book, I happen to like the first book a lot more. And yeah, it was really funny and silly, and you get a lot of Joe Biden isms through the whole thing. Yeah, I think these books are really good to pick up if you want something kind of funny, but also pretty mysterious. Like, you get a good mystery out of these. I do think the first book did it better and gave you a better mystery to solve, but yeah, I still think this is a pretty solid duology overall. The next one, this is my 3rd time reading it. Obviously, I love the book. I love the whole series in general. But that is Get a Life, Chloe Brown. I had to read this again. Well, I didn't have to read it, but if you watched my January TBR, you know that Fuse, Benson's younger sibling, wanted me to read it, include this in the books that he wanted me to read for the month of January. So I picked up Get a Life, Chloe Brown again for the 3rd time, and this follows Chloe Brown, who recently had a near-death experience. So after that she decided that she was going to completely change her life and in fact get a life. and she recruits the superintendent of her building to help her get a life, and some romance ensues. And this is honestly one of my favorite books of all time. I love it so much. I love their relationship, their dynamic, their banter. It is enemies to lovers type thing. They're not really enemies, they just big miscommunications all around. But the best part about this book is their relationship dynamic. They're two separate people that have their own problems going on, but when they come together, it just makes it so much better. And that's what I love about Talia Hibbert's writing, is they can take these characters and make them so complex individually, so like they're not like, their character dynamic is not fully based on the other person. And I feel like that's something that some romance authors do that make me not like romance as much. But Talia Hibbert is just the best romance author I have ever read from, and I love this book. I love this book. I love this couple. I love them so much. If you have not picked them up already, please do. This next one is a running meme between my household in general. This is one that I did not enjoy when I first read it in high school, and Benson and I shared an English class, and he never let me forget the fact that I said I did not like this book. So I had to reread 1984 by George Orwell. This is basically a classic dystopian novel following Winston, who deals with the fact that they really have no individuality within their community, and he's trying to rebel against that without getting caught. And I know a lot of people are wondering what I thought about this the second time I had to read it, and I'm not going to tell you at all. I do have plans for this book as well as a couple of others, hopefully in the near future, but probably more realistically the distant future. So you will get to hear all of my thoughts when that comes out. So you remember when I was talking about instructions for dancing and saying it wasn't the kind of story that I typically like, or the typical like ending that I typically like? This is where I contradict myself. This one is I Want to Eat Your Pancreas. Now, I knew what I was getting into when I picked this book up. First of all, this is a Christmas gift. This is not something that I bought myself. Benson got it for me for Christmas because he knew I was looking at it for a little while, and I happened to be in the mood. First of all, Fuse put this on my TBR. Second of all, I happened to know what I was getting into when I was getting into it. I knew I was gonna cry. I was kind of in the mood to cry. Sometimes you gotta get yourself sometimes you just gotta cry. So I picked this up when I was in the mood for it, and this follows a young boy who finds a journal of a young girl and discovers that she has pancreatic cancer. And since she hasn't told anybody outside of her family, they're kind of forced into this friendship. And it is such a beautiful story. And I mean, I will admit, I'm not sure what I gave it as a rating. Oh, I did give it a full 5 stars. I think probably because it made me cry at the time. Looking back on it, again, this is probably, like, now that I've had time to, like, sit down and actually think about the story, I think I was so caught up in the emotions that I just gave it a 5 stars, but looking back on it, it's probably more of a 4 for me, at least, just because there were some problems I had with the story, like, most likely the like unlikable character scenario that I had in here, because like we're supposed to feel bad for her, I think, but obviously we're supposed to feel bad for her, but like in a way she was just one of the most unlikable characters I've ever read from, so I think that hindered it a little bit for me. And okay, you need to be quiet, ma'am. Sorry, my laptop is how I'm keeping track of all these books. But yeah, usually I can handle the unlikable character trope or unreliable narrator trope, but I just couldn't get past it with her. I was not a big fan. Other than that, I really liked the story, and the art is super beautiful and gorgeous. I really wish they kept the art style like in color instead of black and white, because look at that. They did the first couple pages completely in color, and then like some mangas do, and then after that it's just fully black and white. But I wish they kept it in color, because that is just absolutely some of the most gorgeous illustrations I have ever seen. Other than that, I really liked it, and it absolutely made me cry. I didn't let myself cry like as much as I wanted to, just because I had stuff to do later that night, and I'm an ugly crier, and you can see it on my face all day if I let myself cry. But it was still really good, and I'm glad I read it. This is where I kind of started deviating from the TBR I was supposed to be reading in January. But I did pick up The Incredibly Dead Pets of Rex Dexter, Narwhal I'm Around. This is the second book in the Rex Dexter trilogy. I think it's only a trilogy, but I could be wrong. This follows Rex Dexter, who is cursed to who is cursed, and because of that curse he discovers he can talk to dead pets, and he has to figure out why they died and how, and so he can help them move on. This is, like I said, this is the second book, so I can't go into too much detail about this one, but I really I think I liked the first one a little better, but I did really enjoy this one as well. I think I gave this a 4-star. Yep, 4-star. And this is the same author who wrote Fart Quest, which if you've been here for a little while, you know is one of my favorite series, middle grade series, just because it's so fun. They have the same... Oh, right, this one doesn't have as many illustrations as the first one, but it does have little illustrations through it as you're going along, and it's very... If you liked Junie B. Jones, you'd probably like this book, just because the main character is very similar to her, and he's such a funny... he can be a funny character, but he can also be a little asshole-ish. He's very like, hey, like, why aren't we doing things my way instead of like the sensible way? Like, I want to do them like the way I want to do them, things like that. So he can be a pretty unlikable character, but I also think he's really funny, and like obviously the other characters are a pretty good reason to pick this up as well, especially the animal characters. And we got the dead chicken, which he's a main staple from the first book. He's where this whole thing started. But I love it. I love this book so much. I know a third one just came out, which I'm super excited to read. It is weird though, if you use Goodreads, for some reason the third book doesn't show up with the other two. So you have to type it in, like type the title in manually instead of with the author or with the series. So I thought it was only a duology for the longest time. Next one is a pretty big disappointment for me, just because I was so looking forward to it. It had such a cute premise and honestly a gorgeous cover. That is How to Marry Keanu Reeves in 90 Days. This follows Lou, who's a struggling artist, and she really doesn't take her work as seriously as she should. She doesn't take her life as seriously as she should. And then she discovers that her longtime crush, Keanu Reeves, is getting married in 90 days. And so to further procrastinate her work, she decides to take a road trip to go and stop Keanu Reeves from getting married, and dragging her longtime best friend along with her. And this, like I said, it's such a cute... Hi, baby. Hi.
Hello.
Are you okay?
Yes.
Actually, I'm glad I have you here.
Uh-oh.
Okay, I'm on a different book, but we're gonna clip you in for a second. What do you think of Junie B. Jones? This isn't Junie B. Jones, but we can.
I would hope not.
No. What do you think of our read along of Junie B. Jones?
What kind of pizza do you want? So why don't we just get a large wine then?
Okay, if you want to.
I'm fine with that. I could actually maybe camera.
Yes, I eat pineapple on my pizza. If you don't like it, deal with it.
That's so violent to your audience.
I love you.
Holy shit! And I thought I was violent to your audience. God damn! Telling them they can't control me and flipping them off in the early videos. Holy shit!
I didn't say that.
I said that.
Oh.
Yeah. But damn.
Hey, it could have been much worse.
What? What? You could have said what I'm about to say. Eat my ass. But I won't. This is already delaying the video. This is what we call padding in the YouTube stuff. But so
it's gonna be a pretty long video because I have all those books to get through too.
Oh my fucking god! You're giving me a big editing job.
I already uploaded 2 videos.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Holy shit! You're getting a lot done.
Told you.
I'm proud of you.
Thanks.
Good. Is this the wrap up?
Yes. This
good
is
shit, honey.
Steve's first wrap up, January and February, and I
Good
saw
show.
the film March and April.
Jolly good show. On that note.
So what do you think of Junie B. Jones?
No. What you want? A large Hawaiian? Okay.
I love you.
I love you too. Okay. You have fun. You have fun. With your audience. I'm gonna go back to my bullshit. I'm gonna hop back on my bullshit. So I'm gonna walk my way out.
Okay, have fun.
Okay.
I love you.
I love you too.
You sure you don't want to tell me what you think of Junie B. Jones? Come on, I have 2 more books in here. All right. I completely forgot.
She's a bitch.
Anyway.
Fuck them kids.
Oh my God. Can I get to?
Okay, I'm done.
Okay, either you get your ass in here and film the rest of this
I'm going
with
away.
me,
I'm going away.
or you go away.
I'm going away. I'm going away. I'm gone.
Okay.
Not even here.
Anyway, I just wasn't a really big fan of this. And just the execution with it, it felt a little boring. There were some parts in here that I did really enjoy. We do see a little bit of her dealing with her grief over losing her brother. Other than that, she's supposed to be almost, I think she's in her 40s. She felt like she was 20 years old. She was written so young, and I feel like all of the characters were written that way. So it wasn't just the way that she acts and like her lifestyle. No, she felt like she should have been 20 years old. So that really took away from the story for me. And I just didn't like the romance. It's a friends to lovers romance, and I didn't feel any connection between them whatsoever. I feel like they were just kind of thrown together for the sake of it being a contemporary romance, and I wasn't the biggest fan of it. And I'm really sad because it is such a cute premise, and I was expecting to love this couple. I love friends to lovers romances. Obviously my romance is a friends to lovers romance, so yeah, I was really disappointed with this, and I was struggling for a while to decide whether I wanted it to be a 2 or 3 stars, and I think I finally settled on the fact that it's unfortunately a 2-star book. Next one is a nonfiction. I do not rate nonfictions, so I do not have a star rating for this one, but I have some opinions. But that is Press Reset. This is basically commentary on the video game industry and like all of the ups and downs that it deals with and that the people deal with being in the industry. And this is not something that I had previously given thought to. Again, this wasn't a book that I had ever planned on picking up. This is one of Benson's, but it was chosen for me. So I ended up picking it up, and I did enjoy it for the most part. I did feel like it was a bit too long, and I didn't have an audiobook for this one, unfortunately. So I ended up reading it pretty slowly. And it was really interesting. It gave me a lot to think about, because there are things that when you don't game a lot, like as much as I do, like you don't really look into the video game studios and video game companies and things like that. So you don't really realize how much movement is involved and how many studios can get closed at like the blink of an eye. So it was really interesting in that aspect. I did feel like it was a little too long, especially because I feel like a lot of the things just kept circling back to the same couple of games and the same couple of studios, so that kind of took me out of it a little bit. If I had an audiobook for this, I think I would have enjoyed it a lot more than I did reading it physically. But yeah, that's that. Next one is unfortunately another disappointment. That is Hamnet. This follows Shakespeare's wife and his son, who unfortunately gets struck with the plague. And we kind of follow that story. At least that's what it's advertised as. That's not really what we get. I feel like we get more of his wife's story than we get of his son. Yeah, I just wasn't the biggest fan of it, unfortunately. I can't, it's been a little while since I finished it, so I can't really tell you what I didn't like about it too much. All I know is it's a short book, and this took me so long to get through, and I don't know, I feel like I was bored at certain times, and I don't feel like we got enough character development for me to really feel for these characters as much as I wanted to. I'm gonna say I gave it 2 stars. The next ones I'm gonna go through pretty quickly, just because unfortunately I read them for a video that I wanted to come out, but I didn't end up filming enough of it, and then by the time that I was able to actually put it out, it was too late. Yeah, I believe it's the first week of February is children's author and illustrator week. Basically it's a whole week celebrating children's authors and illustrators. So for that I was gonna do a whole week-long vlog, read as many children's books as I could. So I did read the books, I just didn't post a vlog for it, which sucks. But still, I am studying to be a preschool teacher, so this was a really eye-opening experience for me this was a really good opportunity for me to discover some new children's books that I could include in my future classroom and hopefully with my future kids. The first one I picked up was probably one of my favorites, and that was Yes, I Still Have Them. Do not judge me, I haven't returned them to the library yet. Anyway, but the first one I have is Mother Goose Goes to India. This is a collection of Mother Goose stories told with a little bit of a twist from India. So we have Jack and Jill and Hickory Dickory Dock and things like that. It basically just it gives you the stories just in a different language, and it gives you a little definition of what the word used in the poem or short story is. I really liked it. I think the illustrations are gorgeous. I think the stories are so cute, and it's not something you really, or at least I have ever thought about, of different stories being translated into different languages. Which, I mean, a lot of stories are translated into languages. What am I saying? But in a children's aspect. Thoughts, brain, words. The next one I read, I'm obsessed with anything that has the word carnival in it. So I got Visa's Carnival. And this follows a young girl whose grandmother has always attended the carnival that they have in town every single year. Unfortunately, she can't go this year, so she has to find a way to bring the carnival to her grandmother. This was a really cute story. that I discovered for the first time, and I enjoyed reading it, and I think children would really enjoy this as well. The next one's 2 more Junie B. Jones books that I read with Benson. I think he already gave you his opinions on these, but this one is Junie B. Jones is a beauty... oh no, other way around. Junie B. Jones is a party animal about Junie B. going to her first slumber party. My bad. And this one is Junie B. Jones is beauty shop guy, and this one follows Junie B. Jones giving herself a haircut for the first time, and I think we all have done that at some point or another. I had a sister who would do it for me. But I really enjoyed those. Again, pretty much the same thing with Junie B. Jones is Not a Crook. I enjoy reading the stories from my past so much. And it's definitely a good de-stressor. The last book I read from that video, a book that I'm sure so many of you have already heard about or have read at one point or another. That is The Rainbow Fish. This is one of my favorites when I was little, so when I saw it at the library, I knew I had to pick it up. But this follows the Rainbow Fish as he deals with the concept of sharing and learning to share and why that's so important. I love this so much. It was definitely really fun. That whole experience was really fun, getting to pick up some books from my past and find some new books, new children's books. And I just think, like, not to go on a tangent here, like, this video is already long enough. It's already 43 minutes without anything being cut. But I think that's, like, it's such an important thing to be able to read children's books and be able to get, like, not only for, like, information to figure out, like, good books versus bad books, like what your children should be reading, as well as just to de-stress. If you don't want kids, or you even don't like kids for whatever reason, like, pick up a children's book anyway. There's nothing wrong with it. The next one, it was one of my most anticipated books of the year, and it did not disappoint. That's the word. It did not disappoint. I Must Betray You by Rudessa Pettis. This is, first of all, she is my favorite historical fiction author. I don't think I've read any historical fiction outside of her, and just because she does it so well, and she takes stories from time periods that you don't typically hear about. Like this one specifically takes place in Romania in 1989, which is not that long ago. Like, that's the year that my sister was born, and this is a part of history that, like, I didn't think anything was going on at that time. And obviously, like, this was before I was born, but still, like, this is something that I had not heard very much about before. But like I said, this takes place in Romania. We follow Christian, who is dealing with or is living in a communist country, and his experiences with that, and how he's single-handedly trying to change everything. It was informative in a way that it didn't make it seem like you were reading a textbook. And I really like that, because you definitely felt for the characters, and you were learning at the same time. And I really like that she takes different periods of history that you don't hear a ton about and twists them into a way that, like, you can learn as well as words are hard today. I've been talking for almost an hour. I did continue on with the Brown Sisters trilogy after that by reading Take a Hint, Dani Brown. This follows Dani, the middle Brown sister, who is trying to get her PhD, as well as Zeph, who is a security guard in the building that she works in, and they're friends. And one day he saves her from a drill that they're having at the school, and it turns into a fake dating situation real quick. again, with Talia Hibbert, they take characters and make you feel for them separately and make them feel like such real people, to the point where like they're not just they don't just live for their relationships. They are their own full separate people outside of this relationship, and that is what I love, because not only do you fall for their relationship, but you fall for them as people in themselves. I will say, I know a lot of people liked this over Chloe Brown, but I didn't love it as much as I loved Chloe, and I didn't love the relationship as much as I loved it in Take a Life. I didn't love it as much as I loved the relationship in Get a Life, Chloe Brown, which is a little sad to me, but still, I did absolutely love and adore it, and this is one of my favorite series, if not my favorite series of all time. And then with sadness in my heart, I completed the trilogy with Act Your Age, Eve Brown. This one I only read for the first time this year, and I think I was putting it off so much because I thought I was going to be disappointed by it, because I loved the other two so much, and Eve is by far my favorite sister of the three. I could not have been more wrong, and I'm so mad at myself for waiting this long to pick up Act Your Age, Eve Brown. Because she is such, I feel like she is the sister that I relate to the most, being the youngest sister, being the one that feels like they're not taken as seriously and you can never do anything right, and that's exactly what Eve Brown goes through. But in this one we follow Eve Brown, who is being cut off from her parents, and she ends up stumbling into this job interview with Jacob Wayne, and she ends up accidentally running him over with her car, and the story just ensues from there. And I love this. I thought this was an absolute breath of fresh air. I loved the setting of this, especially. This takes place at a bed and breakfast, pretty much in the middle of nowhere, but it was such a beautiful setting, and I loved the relationship in this one. I loved the characters, the story, just where it went, and getting to know Eve a lot more than just a passing side character. I think this definitely is a big contender for my favorite book of the year, and I need to read it 2 more times to catch up with the other 2, so yeah. Next one I read is a graphic novel, and that is Goldilocks. This is a graphic novel in the Land of Stories series. This is a prequel to Before We Meet the Twins. This is what happens with the Dwarf Forests. Basically, this follows Goldilocks and how she became the anti-hero that she is known to be in the main books. And I really enjoyed this, especially the art style. I really liked getting to see a lot of the characters that we know from the Land of Stories books and putting that into like actually getting visuals for it. What did I give this? I think I gave it like a 4-star read, and apparently this is just the start of an even deeper series, graphic novel series, so I'm really excited to see the rest of those. These ones I did grab for that children's book video, but obviously I didn't end up reading it for that, but I had them, so I decided to read them anyway. And I grabbed the Magic Treehouse series, the first 2, Dinosaurs Before Dark and The Night at Dawn. I really enjoyed this. I never read I think I read maybe 1 or 2 of the Magic Treehouse series when I was younger, so I didn't get a ton of this world, but I really enjoyed getting to know Jack and Annie, and I do wish these books were a little longer, and I can't even say like that's like me being an adult now, but because like Junie B. Jones are like the perfect length for me. I just wish these ones were a little longer, because you're trying to teach kids something, and like this is very much like a learning, informative book, like read as you go. And I don't feel like you get a lot of that in like the 60 pages that you get. But yeah, I still enjoyed them. I thought they were really cute, and I will definitely continue on with this series. And lastly, after talking for pretty much an hour now, I finished off February with Yeah, I Hate Fairyland, the first book. This is a reread. I just wanted something quick to pick up because I had fallen into a little bit of a slump. And again, I really enjoyed this. Oh, this is the second book in the series because I couldn't find the first one. But I did really enjoy getting back into the world and looking at all the gorgeous illustrations and having a really fun time with that. This follows Gertrude, who is 5 at the start of the book, and then she gets pulled into Fairyland on a quest that's only supposed to take her about 24 hours, and it ends up taking her 30 years. And we can kind of see the effects that Fairyland has had on her mentality and her sanity. And I really liked it. You will hopefully be seeing a review from Benson on the series very, very soon, because I made him read the entire 4-volume series. So it's gonna be great. I'm excited. Okay. Those are all of the books that I read between January and February. Hopefully Benson can cut this down quite a bit, so you will not have to be watching a full-length feature of me talking about books. He's usually pretty good about doing that. Alrighty, anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you liked what you saw, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you want to see more from me, as well as Benson, who is here a little earlier and is a frequent member on this channel. I will leave all of his links down in the description box below, as well as links to my social media if you want to get any more updates from me. But once again, thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.